Hey there, Grumpy Old Fart here. Be sure to check me out over on Rumble. There you'll find all of my stuff from YouTube, plus my political and social commentary and weekly current events, which YouTube frowns on. Links to my Rumble channel as well as my other YouTube channels and links to let you order my books are in the description of this video. If you enjoy my content, please like, subscribe, share, and comment. I welcome your comments even if you disagree with me. Now, on with the video. Hey there, Grumpy Old Fart here. I'm doing an advanced Dungeons and Dragons advice video on Dungeon Master etiquette, and this is pretty much advice for dungeon masters. I do a lot of videos suggesting how dungeon masters can improve their games and how players can improve their play. I've also made suggestions on how players should act during the games and what not to do during their games. Mostly, it's just don't be an asshole kind of thing. And I always say, if you don't choose to follow my advice, cool. You don't have to. These aren't hard, fast rules. These are suggestions and advice. If you decide to use and abuse my rules, knock yourself out. If you decide to ignore them completely, knock yourself out. It's just advice. They're not rules. Okay? This particular video is specifically for dungeon masters. After all, dungeon masters are people too. Technically, we are players. We are playing the game. We're running it, but we're playing it. And there's a certain decorum that dungeon masters are expected to maintain. These are do's and don'ts for dungeon masters as well. All right, regarding your players. The players in your game are people, and as such, they are entitled to respect. Players will come up with the damnedest and sometimes the most inane and illogical bullshit plans conceivable by the mind of man. The trick is to understand the three possibilities. First, the player does not understand the situation. If that's the case, this is your fault and for not explaining it well enough. And you have to explain every facet of the situation. You have to explain it well enough so that they have a grasp of what's going on. This is mental theater. A good friend of mine used that the other day, and I'm going to start using it. Mental theater is what it is. They have to be able to mentally grasp what the situation. If you have not explained it well enough, they will not understand it. This will cause problems. Sometimes their bad plans are because they don't understand something because you haven't explained it well enough. That's suggestion one. That's possibility one, excuse me. Possibility two, their grasp of logic and or physics is faulty. This is fairly common. They simply believe that their character is capable of doing things that it cannot do. Or they believe the outcome will justify the actions, whatever that is. It is your job to mediate the situation. Remember, this player is being on the level and honestly believes this course of action is not only appropriate, but will be advantageous somehow. This is I like to call this an honest mistake. And this happens. This actually happens a lot in the game. This is more than likely the most common situation. If you've explained the situation well enough and they understand what's going on, sometimes people just make bad plans. They have bad ideas. It happens. How many businesses have gone broke with bad business plans? It happens. Okay? You got to mediate it and play it out. If the bad guy, you can't undermine the bad guy's intelligence or his plan to make the player succeed. However, I mean, if the player makes a stupid ass plan, knowing the situation, they make a stupid ass plan and they still succeed, they're going to continue with these stupid ass plans. If their stupid ass plan fails, oh crap, we need a better plan. See how that works? It's a way of teaching them to be better players. And everybody wants to be better players. Okay? So, remember, it's your job to mediate the situation. Sometimes bad plans fail. And you can mediate it to the point to where the failure is a minor failure as opposed to a cataclysmic failure. But remember, that these players are not... They're not being assholes. They understand the situation. They just had a bad idea. Sometimes bad ideas fail badly. Look up a video that I did called oh, something like How to Sink the Ocean, I think it's called. My players, how to sink the, how to move, they move the ocean, basically. How not to move the ocean, I think it's called. They moved their ocean on top of their continent and destroyed the entire gaming world that I had, and we had to start over. A bad plan, okay? Sometimes that happens. There's nothing you can do about it. Once the rules were established and they used those rules effectively, they knew the rules. One of the players acted stupidly, and honestly, it was bad luck. The guy with the amulet didn't make it through the portal in time, and he got killed while the portal was still open. So there was no way to close the portal, and the ocean poured through said portal because it was underwater. The ocean poured through said portal and submerged the continent. It was, how not to move the ocean, basically, I think it's called. Go find it and look it up. You'll see what I'm talking about. A bad plan. Now, and it wasn't really a plan. It was more bad luck than anything, because this guy didn't plan to do that. He opened the portal trying to get out, and then he got killed before he could close the portal. So, again, just a bad situation. There's nothing you can do about it. Then we have the third situation. The player is either trying to milk the situation or is trying to bullshit his or her way through it. Sometimes they try to intimidate the dungeon master. Sometimes they try to weasel their way past the rules. This player can and will undermine your game because he or she has no faith in you as a dungeon master. The player doesn't respect you and is trying to weasel through the situation. Later on, this player will talk shit about you and will try to sway your players to his way of thinking. This player deserves to have his player character killed and or penalized in the course of the game. But it is important to make sure every player sees that you're not being spiteful or retaliatory towards that player. Stupid actions carry consequences, and if you have set up your world properly, nature will simply take its course. No otherworldly 1,000 hit die lightning bolts. None of that stuff. I used to play with a guy, and his thing was anytime somebody tried to question him on a rule or try to figure a better way to do something other than his story, which he thought trumped the rules, a mystery 1,000 hit die lightning bolt would come out of nowhere and obliterate the player character, and you'd have to make up a new character. Yeah, I played in his game exactly 1 week. I saw it happen to 2 other players, and I just didn't go anymore because this guy's name was Bill, and he was a piece of shit, and he didn't know how to dungeon master. But that's what that boils down to. If you set up your game properly, you won't need to do that. The world will take care of the situation. If the guy decides to attack an army of 5,000 people, you give me 5,000 D20 rolls, I'm going to roll some crits. Okay? If the guy decides, well, I think we can take that dragon. Yeah, he won't, we can take that dragon. Yeah. You better be high enough level and be packing some serious firepower, because dragons are not wimps in any event. The crappiest dragon is still a badass. When a player tries to do stuff like that, it shows that they have no faith in you as a dungeon master. They believe you won't kill them. They believe you're soft, you're a wimp, you're more concerned with their survival than your world. And that's not the case. You want them to survive, but you don't want to sacrifice the integrity of your world for them to survive. Okay? If a character dies, a character dies. It's that simple. You got to let nature take its course, and nature in your world is the world you've set up. Just play it accordingly. Now, regarding other dungeon masters, here we go. Dungeon masters enjoy talking and debating with other dungeon masters. That is the nature of the beast. I get some of my best ideas talking to other dungeon masters. I learn from playing under other dungeon masters in their games. Many great ideas are shared between dungeon masters. A solid, intellectual, respectful debate can be fun and enlightening. However, if another dungeon master does not share your opinion or they do things completely different, that is their prerogative. Do not try to change his or her mind. Do not try to force your beliefs or your methods on them. Remember, the primary rule of dungeon mastering is if the players are having fun, they're doing it right. Okay? If his or her players enjoy his game, he or she is doing it correctly. They're doing it right. You have no right to try and change the way that they play. It's their game. Let them run it. I have long suggested that a dungeon master should play in other people's games to refresh and recharge their imagination and to learn more about running games. Remember, even if it's what not to do. Remember, nobody knows everything and nobody is too old to learn. I'm 56 years old. I'm going to be 57 in August. I'm playing in a game right now. It's 5th edition. I don't know the rules as well as my son does, as well you know. But the people that are running this game are top notch. They are excellent dungeon masters. Okay? I have loads more experience than they do, but I am learning so much from them. Not so much of the rules of 5th edition, but in how to run a game. I'm learning from them. Okay? You're never too good, too perfect to learn. Never, ever, ever, under any circumstances, try to influence or otherwise bully another dungeon master, especially if you're playing in their game. They deserve exactly as much respect as you do. And in their game, they are the dungeon master. Sit back, let them run the game, and enjoy yourself. You're there to play. Sit back and play. Case in point, and I just talked about this, we finally found a good gaming group in this area. They meet once a week. My son and I play. My wife works that day, otherwise she would play as well. They play 5th edition. I'm enjoying playing in their games. I don't usually play 5th edition, and this is an educational experience for me. Our 2 dungeon masters are Chris and Nico. I have been running Advanced Dungeons and Dragons probably longer than they've been alive. But they are the dungeon masters. I do not argue with them, nor do I try to show them a better way. It's their game, and I am a player there. Both Nico and Chris are excellent dungeon masters. They know the material. They run really great games. They're fair. They apply the rules equally to everyone, and they're consistent in that application. Everything I suggest in my games for how a dungeon master should act, they exemplify. Maybe someday they will get to play in my 1st edition game, and that would be great. But for now, I'm just really enjoying playing again. Kudos to the entire group. There's nothing like a great group of competent players being run by a competent and talented dungeon master. And I got to give these guys, these 2 people, their props. Nico and Chris are excellent, excellent dungeon masters. I'm learning a lot about 5th edition, and I'm learning a few things. Well, there's some things I'm learning, but there's also some things that I'm being reminded of as far as being a dungeon master goes. Because you play this long enough and some things kind of fall by the wayside, I'm learning some detail again, and it's awesome. Yeah, remember, the main thing about being a dungeon master is don't be an asshole, especially to another dungeon master, because someday you'll play in their game. and then the shoe will be on the other foot, you know what I'm saying? Anyway, I hope this finds everybody well, and I hope these videos help. I really do. And again, if you feel like ignoring my stuff, or if my stuff doesn't fit in your gaming methodology, ignore it. It's okay. I don't know everything. Hope this finds everybody well. You folks have a good one. God bless one and all. There is a house in New Orleans where the monsters all hang out. When the police detective, who happens to be a skinwalker squirrel, uncovers a plot by a paranormal perpetrator, he has to enlist the aid of his fellow housemates. If you enjoy a modern, quirky take on historical mythology, check out my new original novel, The House Off Farrago Road.